Webinars are all the rage, but if you've ever tried to put one on and it generated dismal results, you know there's a secret to profitable webinars. And way more than that, there's a lot that goes behind the scenes in having a business work well when you run it online. And today, our guest is a real pro in this area. As a matter of fact, he's got some pretty outstanding results to talk to us about, but how he got there is so simple, it'll blow your mind. Hi, it's Melanie Benson here. I'm America's leading small business optimizer. And in this weekly podcast, what I like to do is like to bring you cutting edge information, innovative strategies, but really simple tweaks you can make to your current business to make it perform exponentially better. And today's guest is going to prove to be a real goldmine of great ideas for us. Let me introduce you to Essa, all the way from Gold Coast, Australia. Now, he's an international speaker, a software developer, and a webinar marketing expert, helping business owners and experts generate huge cash flow from live and automated webinars. And I love automated webinars, so I can't wait to dig into this today. So, Stephen, welcome. I'm so glad we were able to bring you on the show.
Hey, Melanie, thanks for having me on. My pleasure.
Yeah, so all the way from Australia, you are somebody who, you do this work all over the world, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We've toured around the world many times and taught this information. I was among the first experts in the world to be teaching webinars as a strategy and helped build a lot of businesses and help a lot of people retire. A lot of business owners retire, vets, pilots, doctors, coaches, lots of different people, and it's been a real pleasure. It's been a very fast ride, but it's a great journey.
You're like an overnight success, and that didn't actually take a long time to get there, right?
Yeah, exactly. It took in the music business, they say it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. Well, I spent 13 years in the music business and flopped. So, in just a short time, 6 months, I quit my job when I went to my first seminar, and it happened very quickly, thanks to webinars, really.
Well, I'm excited because I know for me, webinars have been very liberating. I used to have to travel all over the place to do speaking gigs, and that's fun. But at a certain point, I wanted to be able to be home more. So webinars have really been very freeing for me. So it's nice to have somebody come on and share about that. And, I think for a lot of people, there's some misinformation about webinars. There's a lot of myths out there. There's a lot of competing information and different types of advice. When you're going to help somebody really put a webinar strategy in place, what's the most important thing that they need to know?
The most important thing that I look at, first of all, is first of all, webinars for me in a business is we're going to add value to the business. We're not just going to do a webinar just to look at it in this, I just want to make money today. If you want to make money fast, you can do it with webinars, but you still have to have a long-term mentality with it. So you don't want to burn through, do a webinar that's going to be a sales pitch for 90 minutes or for 60 minutes. This is where a lot of people say, start selling in the middle because if people leave. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard ever. A webinar for me is all about delivering amazing content, amazing value. That's what the internet's really about. And that's how you build a loyal tribe and a loyal customer base, by delivering great information and then just giving the next offer at the end, making a simple offer at the end where people can find out more or go further if they want to. If they don't, they can always come back later. And because you've delivered such great value on your webinar, you're gonna leave a good taste in their mouth. So they're gonna remember you later when it comes to them needing that. And that's how I've always done my presentations, whether I was doing a webinar or presenting live. I always aim to deliver as much value as I can in the short time that I have. And then people who want to go further, they've already made up their mind. They've already said, wow, okay, that I can see that was good. I learned so much in such a short time. This is the person I need to take me to the next level. And from research that I've done through our webinars convert 10 times higher than websites. So, for every 100 visitors to a website, you get one sale if you're lucky. With a webinar, we get 10 sales from every 100 visitors, and we can sell a product for 10 times the price as well. So there's a huge benefits there, but it's all about the content. It's all about delivering great value, and then people just naturally know they want to work with you at the end if there's an irresistible offer.
Yeah, and I would agree. Webinars have been really profitable for me as well. And so, before we get too deep into this, there's sometimes some confusion about what a VSL or video sales letter is versus a webinar.
Yeah.
What's the difference, and when should you use each?
Yeah. Well, I think a video sales letter is normally a sales pitch, purely just a sales pitch, really. I mean, there is the slightest bit of content in a VSL, but mainly it gets to the pitch very, very quickly, or it's always building its case up for the product that it is, and it's normally very punchy. So, you've seen that as VSLs with the PowerPoint presentation. We do them all the time to sell things. Like we're selling something for a low-end product. That's the other thing with a VSL. A VSL can't sell $1,000 or a $10,000 product like I can do on a webinar or you can do on a webinar. VSL will sell something for $47.97, maybe $197 max. So there, you're capped there. A VSL is normally very fast, very high tempo pitched. It's like moving very quickly. Whereas a webinar presentation is kind of like, it's kind of like a seminar where you go there. Imagine going to a seminar and then the guy was reading a VSL. Attention, if you want to know the fastest way to build an internet business, then you got to watch this must-watch thing. It just wouldn't, it would be very cold. It's very clinical. Yes. It's, so there's no personality. And this is what I say when I talk about automated webinars at my events and I show people how to automate a webinar and I show them how they can edit it. I say, don't cut out all the ums and ahs and, taking a drink of water in your webinar. Hang on, guys. Just take a drink there. Okay, so what I talked about there was blah, blah, very natural. It actually shows the presenter in a very natural way, very down to earth. That's how we have a conversation. So webinar can be much more conversational, but it's very hard to do when you're looking at a black screen or like when you're looking at a screen. It took a while for me to get around to making it conversational, even though I was talking to a computer, and you can't hear anything back. That silence is deafening on a webinar. So I just tell people, pretend there's someone on the other side, and you're talking to one person. So what you say is you. So what you want to do is, do your webinar this way. So what you want to do, or what you want to think about, is this and this and this. Because really, we're talking to everyone, but we're talking to one person at a time, and that's really the two key differences anyway to answer the question.
Well, I know a lot of people have questions about how to make their webinars work better. I've worked with a lot of people who put webinars out and they don't do well. So let's dig in. Let's give them some real meat today with what are some things that people need to know if they're going to put a webinar together to make it perform better and get better results from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, you've got to have a good target audience there. It's at the end of the day, if for example, if you've got a business product that can help, internet marketers or whatever, I've got a list, right? So I've got a list over 30,000 people, and you're going to get a much better response if you promote something, if I promote it for you to my list, because I'm in touch with my list all the time, and they listen when I send an email, they take action, and they do this and that. That's going to get a much better conversion rate and endorsement from me about you to my list, okay, than if you did Facebook ads and you got 100 people there. So 100 people from my list promoting you, Melanie, versus 100 people from Facebook who didn't know you before, that's more likely to get the 10% conversion. This can still get some conversion, but that's it. So don't always blame yourself if your webinar's not converting. You've got to look to where's the traffic coming from. And conversely, if you've got someone who's promoting you who just pitches stuff every day to their list, they send, ClickBank offers and, hey, buy this, buy that, buy this. Every day they're promoting and they've wore their list out, then you're going to get less sales from that. And, I've seen this even for me, even for myself. I can do a webinar and make no sales if it's to a crappy list, okay? So it's very important that, you don't just blame yourself, because once you get the webinar converting to good traffic, okay, at 10%, then it just depends on who's there at this point. I mean, you can't really muck it up. You've got it dialed in. But let's talk a little bit about the webinar itself. When I always start out, anything selling less than $1,000, I always tell people a 60-minute webinar is the benchmark, is the point that you want to aim for with the length, okay? If you're selling something over $1,000, you need more time, more like 90 minutes. Just like if you were going to buy a Chrysler versus, a BMW, you're going to spend more time, researching and, if you're spending more money. So, well, I don't know how much Chryslers are in America, but they're pretty cheeky. So just in case they're the same price and that didn't make any sense, I apologize. But you get the point. So a 60-minute webinar is what I always start out with when I work with someone. Like, so, students come to me and they say, I want to build a business. Do I need a website? I say, I never build a business with a website. I never build a website until the business is making money. And if you can't convince someone at the end of talking for 60 minutes on a webinar that if you can't convince at least 1 in 10 people, 10%, then we don't have a business yet, because business only happens when the sale is made. So 60-minute webinar presentation for anything under $1,000, and we want to spend, the ratio is 10 minutes on your introduction, 40 minutes of really good content, and then 10 minutes at the end to offer your product or service. And that's just a really easy ratio. And I can dive into each one of those areas a little deeper if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that people mess up is their introduction. If you've got a boring introduction, guess what? People are clicking away. They're not engaged. So I would think, in a way, even though content's really important, that's a place where a lot of people make mistakes. What's something that we need to know about doing those intros?
I know. I want to strangle people in the intro, because the intro is not about you. Yeah. This is where people go wrong. The intro is not about you. People aren't there for you. They're there. They've signed up because what you promised in the email or the Facebook ad or whatever, which was the headline, the hook that got them in, right? So, discover how to make $120,000 thanks to webinars, or, how to lose, 15 kilos in 30 days. That's what got them in there. So when they get to the webinar, you want to get to the point very, very quickly. And too often, Melanie, I see people turn up to the webinar. Hello, hi guys, welcome. Is this working? Just 1 second. I've got to get the expert on the phone, and is everything? What you want to do is you want to respect people's time, and you want to get to the point. So when I start a webinar, this is the script, right? Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar. Steve and Essa here, and today you're going to discover how to make $120,000 thanks to webinars in just 60 minutes a week. I've got lots of great information for you here today, and make sure you get your pens and pads out to turn off any distractions, because if you want the leverage that you can get with the webinars, if you want the sales you can get from webinars, if you want the blah, 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 all these benefits that you're going to get from webinars, this presentation is for you. So get to the point really quickly. Tell them what's in it for them, because that's why people are there. That's the radio station they're tuned into, WIFM, I think it is, WIFM. What's in it for me? So that's what they want. And the next thing you do, the next slide that I have is, who is this webinar for? Reiterate that this is for them, and touch on any pain points that might be there. So I say things like, hey, this webinar is for you if you're a speaker and you're sick and tired of traveling around the world and you'd like to stay home more and leverage the power of the internet and have an automated sales process, so sales come in without you doing anything. So now the speakers are sitting there going, oh, right, this is good, this is sounding good. If you're an author and you're sick and tired of selling a $30 book and you want to turn it into a $300 product so you can leverage and make more money and get rid of those books that are sitting in the garage and whatever. So if you're someone who's tried many different ways, if you're selling one-on-one right now and you'd like to leverage that, then for each one of them, at least at one point, to say, yeah, that's me, that's me, that's me. Everyone who's on the webinar in that second slide should be saying at least once or twice, hey, that's me. Yeah, I am in the right place. That's what we want to reassure them, that this is for them. And then what I do is talk about my story a little bit, okay? But I don't do it in a way where most people say my story, right? I just say, what led me to this webinar? Okay, so what led me to this webinar, and it has to relate back to them. It can't be really about you. You've got to think about really, how does this relate to them? So, basically I just sort of weave in my story to tie it back to relating to them. Like I say, my father told me to get a safe, secure job after I failed school. And the reason I say I failed school is I want people to realize that you don't have to be smart to do this. I say my dad said get a safe, secure job. Whose parents told them to get a safe, secure? Ask questions. Did your parents tell you to get a safe, secure job? Because mine did. And now they're relating to you. They're going, his parents are like my parents. Yeah, he was stuck in a job too. And then I tried real estate to get rich, but then the financial disaster happened and I couldn't get more finance and I got nearly wiped out. I became this close to bankruptcy, but then I realized I need a business that can generate cash flow and I can buy all the investments and have all the freedom I want. And that's when I found the internet, and it was cheap, and I went to a seminar. Then I started doing webinars, and I made this much. I helped this guy. And that's when I get into the proof, the next part of your intro, which is show testimonials, real testimonials. I don't consider a testimonial a referral that says Stephen Essa's a nice guy and he's got a good webinar course. I want results. Testimonials have to be, the headline has to be, I made $60,000 in 60 minutes on a webinar, thanks to Stephen, and then some text there with a photo of the person there. Or I lost 15 kilos in 30 days. Or, I went from depressed to, massively ecstatic. Whatever it is that you do, you have to actually show the person who was there before, and then here they are, and that's a testimonial. If you don't have testimonials, then you want to talk about, show some statistics, some stats that are scientifically based, or some in the industry that you've done, and quote the source of where you get those. So if you were doing a webinar on the power of Facebook, for example, you didn't have any testimonials, you would say, look, Facebook is a platform with over 1.2 billion people, and most men check their phone while they're on the toilet, their Facebook account. That's how important it is, right? Men have now replaced the magazine with the phone, and you don't want to use a man's phone, right? So, share some statistic that's going to help back up your case. This whole 10 minutes, what I've just covered there, have to fit into 10 minutes, and it's got to really build the case like a lawyer in a final settlement, in a final argument, trying to defend his client. He's going to basically put forward the case, to get the evidence, the people to listen, ready in a position to listen to them. So that first 10 minutes is building your case. Just because they're on your webinar doesn't mean they're not going to be distracted. I mean, how many distractions do we have right now? It could be reading a book, on the webinar, listening, not passively. So we want to get their attention in that first 10 minutes and say, listen, because if this is you, your life's about to change. When I give you this content, your life's about to change. So turn off your phone, put it down, and get them interacting with you. And if you're on a live webinar, another really good trick is to actually say people's name. Okay, Mary, type in, if your parents told you job security was important, yeah, Mary says yes, Bob, Peter, yeah, John, excellent, yeah, good. This helps interaction as well. When people hear their own name, it's much more powerful. Now, on a replay webinar, it's not going to happen, but I always automate the ones where I'm calling people's names. It sounds more natural.
Yeah. Great tips. I love all those, and I've actually integrated some of those. And again, it's like that personal connection. It's hard to do it when you're in this virtual environment. So any ways you can create that, these are great tips.
Yes.
So I wish we had time to go into everything, but I know we're going to share with people a resource that they can learn more about you and the webinar process. But I'm curious, because I know another place that people really blow it is the ending.
Yeah.
When they're moving out of content, maybe they're making an offer, or they're giving people an invitation to the next steps. Is there a tip you could give people to really make that part work better?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing that people do wrong in the close is, first of all, if you haven't done your content right, you've blown it already, because
Sure.
the content is where the content's so important. I say the content is the close, really, because by the end of the content, people are sitting there going, this is amazing. Right? And if people are still on, at this point, all we need to do is have an offer that makes sense, and it's an irresistible offer. Okay? So maybe I'll give you 3 things that people do wrong. The first and the biggest mistake that you're going to do wrong, okay, is to have too much talk about features and not about benefits.
Yeah.
Okay? So people at the end of a webinar, they do this. They say, all right, guys, so I'm going to show you the fast and easy way now. If you want to know how to move faster, then here it is. Right? You're going to get my 52 videos. Okay, you're going to get access to my membership site. We're going to give you 20 coaching calls with me. We're going to give you text message updates every day. You're going to get a text message. You're also going to get my book as well, which is called blah, 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 blah. And they talk about all these features. These are all features, right? Books, text messages, videos. People are sitting there on your webinar when you're going through that, and they're going, oh my God, look how much work there is to do. I've got to watch 50 videos. I've got to, I've got to get a text message from you every day. I've got to call you. Like, you're kidding me? Because the presenter knows, your package, you know the value because you wrote it. You know what's in there, right? You know what's inside the book, all right? You know the discipline that a text message, what it's going to do for them. It's going to go, oh, I need to remember to, not eat sugar today or whatever it is. You know all the benefits, but you're not saying them to people. So they hear 50 videos, a DVD set, whatever. They see all this work that they've got to do, and consequently they go, ugh, that doesn't look easy at all, and it just sounds too hard, and I'm not going to do it. So what I do is I've got a ratio. 30% of what you say in the close has to be features, okay, because you've got to tell them what they're getting,
right,
and 70% benefits, okay? So focus 70% of what you're saying on the benefits. So if, for example, you're talking about they're going to get 6 coaching calls with you, you say you're going to get 6 coaching calls with me, which is a feature, and in these coaching sessions we'll work on, perfecting your script and doing this and doing that, and they're features. And the benefit is, and you say it like that, you say, and the benefit to you is, and that reminds you to say the benefit, right? Because otherwise we forget. Because by the time you get to the close, you're tired. You've been talking for 60 minutes. It's like, last thing you want to remember is the benefits. You just
right.
Come on, I've delivered so much by my product. And what you say there, and the benefit of that is that you'll be able to accelerate your success. So you'll get there faster. We'll be able to automate your sales processes. So because we'll work on that together and we'll get your sales script automated. You'll be able to be free of the time that you would need normally, because now you've got an automated sales process. You can work on your business. You can spend more time on the beach. You can do whatever you want to do. And you're going to have more money coming in so you can buy the things that you want to buy. And they're all benefits of why people would even buy that thing in the first place. But if you don't mention them, then they don't know, right? So always, always, always. And don't be afraid to reiterate the benefits. Most people in a business who are buying a product, really, they're doing it for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 reasons maximum. They want more time. For example, in the business space, people want more time. They want more freedom. They want more money, and they want more leverage. These are the things that people in our business sort of want. They want that freedom, leverage, and they want to help other people. So, guys, if you're making more money, you'll be able to help more people. Or if you've lost this weight, you'll be able to, feel better and do this and this and this and have more energy and more vitality. They're the things that people don't do enough in a close. And I know why they're tired by the end, but write them down. Have them on a piece of paper there and just look at them. If you're using PowerPoint, like I do on a webinar, people can't even see you. So I could be reading from a piece of paper. And the benefit of that is, guys, you're going to have more time. You're going to have more freedom. You're going to have this and that and whatever.
Yeah, and it's a great tip to write it down. I think a lot of people try to wing it.
Yeah.
And then they blow it, and they can't figure out why
exactly.
is this not working. Because you do. You're tired. Your brain's not as fresh. You don't remember all the little pieces that you want to include at the end.
Exactly. Yep. If you feel like you're going to forget, I even put them on the when I'm doing a new presentation, and I know I need to remember the benefits. I put them on the slides. I don't care. I'll read it from the whole presentation. If I'm worried, I'll just read it from the presentation, or like you said, a piece of paper there. That's best thing, because that's why people are buying. They're not buying you. They don't want to work with you. They don't want your DVD set. They don't want your videos. I know we're offended by that. People don't want to work with me. They want the end result of
Absolutely.
what I can do. So that's what we've got to give them.
They're not investing in you, the person. You're investing in your ability to get them the result.
Exactly.
Okay, I got to ask one more question. And this is something that I think is another offender piece, and it brings us back to content for a second. Are you a fan of less text and more graphics, just text, or lots of text that explains everything when people are putting their PowerPoint presentations together?
I like a balance of both.
Okay.
I've seen the ones where people just use images all the time, and that's fine. But you're not going to appeal to everybody in that way. So I think a good balance of both, because you've got the engineers on there as well, like the mechanical people that like to actually see some information. So I balance it out. So if, for example, you've got a 5-step presentation, which your content should always break up into steps, it makes it much more structured, and you can deliver lots of value, and they can feel like there's a sequence at the end, which is really good for people. If you put it into 5 steps, one step, you might have some text, and then the second part of that step, which is still on step 1, you might have a photo, okay, or a website. So if you're doing a property webinar, for example, you say step number 1 is market research. Here's some really important things with market research, which we'll look at. Number 1 is bang, this, and then the next slide you might say, this is the main website I use for market research. Here's a screenshot of it, and what I do is I click there, and I'm using images there and whatever. And if I'm talking about something to do with the benefit of doing this step, I'm trying to convince them of the benefit. And I know they want to spend more time at the beach, and that's their dream. Might show a beach photo there while you're saying, guys, when you do research right and you've bought the right properties and you're making money, your life becomes really, really easy. And you show a picture of the beach if you wanted to, show that. And then you move on to step 2. But on each step, you want to tell a story. You want to give some really, really good resources for people to take away. So, you want to give them some good content, but you don't want to turn it into a lecture where it's like boom, boom, boom,
right.
boom, boom, boom.
It gets very dry.
I think what you say is more important than what's on the screen.
I agree.
That's 100%, because if you're delivering, people are taking notes. They're going, oh, that was awesome. Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. So that's where the gold really is. So don't get too caught up in the slides at the beginning. I just use black and white. Don't even brand them. The more branded they are, the more it looks like a business that's trying to sell something. We want it to look like free content. If it's a free webinar, if you've sold them a webinar, then brand away, right? But if this is a free webinar, the more branding you have in websites, that's more distracting. In fact, don't have a domain name in the actual slides, because what will happen is people go, oh, maybe I can get some more information faster if I just go to their website. Now they're going to your website. A big mistake that people make.
Interesting. I just learned something new there. All right, Stephen, usually I go a deep dive into people behind the scenes. How does their business work? But I really wanted to focus more on content today and bringing out some great tips, which you shared. But I am really, really curious. How did you get to be an expert in webinars? And maybe there's a story in that of how you blew it all up, or you made a lot of mistakes, or you had a great mentor. I don't know. But I'm genuinely curious, how you got so good at webinars.
Yeah, I was trying to, I was working in a real estate investment company, and my boss used to have me doing emceeing for him, right?
Okay.
And I went to, and his online marketing was really bad, and this is in 2008, and I said to him, you need to fix the online marketing so we can get more customers and whatever, and he said, there's no one here that can do that. So I just took the initiative and went to a seminar. And I watched this 2-day seminar from this guy who wrote a best-selling book in Australia. He How to Make Money While You Sleep. His name's Brett McFall. And I went to that seminar, and I was like, wow, this guy's such a good teacher. Wow, this. And I took notes, and I started saying, wow, I think I can build my own business, from this. So I went there to help my boss's business and look to build my own business. But what happened was I took those strategies away, and we applied them to the workshops. And I made like $106,000 for my boss in his workshops. And then I said, well, I think I can build my own business online. If I could do that, for myself, somehow we could do it online. And that's when my mentor said to me, why don't you try a webinar? And I said, what's a webinar? And he said, go to gotowebinar.com and try it out, right? It was in 2008. And I was like, all right. So I went there, I signed up. I put a name of a webinar, this and that, whatever, and I ran a webinar just for some friends, like 5 friends, and I did a property webinar just to check if it works, right? And it worked, and I was like, this is pretty easy. So I did another webinar to a small database, which I'd been building up on the side. 15 people showed up, and I made 2 sales at $297 selling a product called How to Make Money for Churches and Charities, which was I made $30,000 for my church a month before. So that's where it started. Then I made 4,000, 10,000, and then I started helping other people, and I helped, people make, I've helped quite a few millionaires actually from webinars, and people ask me to come and speak at events, and I've, flown all over the world and been speaking about it because no one was really talking about it. So, that's basically where it all started.
Wow, that's a great story though, because it really does show you that you can come from any background, you can come in any direction, and it's just putting some systems in place and learning the formula. That's what works. You just happen to get the formula and be able to be focused on that.
Exactly. And, my motivation for building my own business was, number one, generating more cash flow and whatever. But I loved my job because it was with real estate investing. But my mum had schizophrenia, and she basically had a nervous breakdown when I was 10 years old. And she completely lost the plot, and she never recovered from that. She was always 2 personalities, and she was always home alone, because my dad passed away, and then I was at work, so I'd always be worried about my mum. So I want to work from home. I could have done my real estate job from home, but he didn't want me to. And I thought I have to build a business from home so that I can be free. You know, I can look after my mum and whatever. So it was a big motivation for me, you know, that plus the bad debt that I accrued from listening to my old boss about real estate and buying bad investments. So I had a lot of motivation to make it work. But look, anyone can do this. You know, you can't say the wrong thing to the right target audience. If you've got people that you're helping, you can't say the wrong thing to them. Just get them on a webinar and you know, start teaching and offering stuff.
Well, this has been really great, Stephen, and we could go on for hours, and I know you have some great resources that we'll get into in a minute, but, you know, I kind of like to wrap up. You brought up motivation, and we all face challenges. We all have stuff that we have to conquer. We have drivers in our business and motivations, what's going to make us work harder and, you know, get this figured out. Is there a mantra or quote of some kind that kind of helps when you're maybe having a tough challenge or get you fired up and focused again?
Yeah, I think the best one I ever heard was when I was stuck in, you know, not making money. I heard Robert Kiyosaki talk about be, do, have. Mm-hmm. Most people, they look at, you know, what do they need to do? So my friends now who used to laugh at me for starting an internet business and think, what are you doing spending all this money going to seminars and whatever, and you should be hanging out with us on the weekend and, you know, instead of doing all this. They call me now and they say to me, Steve, what do I need to do in order to make the money you're making? And you know, have to be able to move to the Gold Coast and, you know, live on the beach and travel around the world when you want to. I said, it's not what you have to do, it's who you have to be. All right? So I invite them to a seminar. I say, I'm going to be in Sydney this week. I'm doing a 2-day workshop. Why don't you come? And none of them ever show up. And I go, look who they are as a person. They're not being the person they need to be in order to do what I tell them. So what happens with a lot of people is because their beingness is not right, they're not being the person who wants to have those things, right? Be, do, have. So, you know, they're going to do that for a little while, but then they're going to get burnt out, you know. But who do you have to be? He said, when you're trying to lose weight, who do you have to be to wake up when it's cold outside, when it's raining, and you still got to go to the gym? You know, you got to be someone who's, you know, ultra successful, you know, who's going to achieve those results. Your beingness has to change. Who you are as a person. Who do you have to be to put 10% of your money aside every week? These are the things that he was saying in there, and I was like, that's right. So whenever I get lazy, whenever I go, I'll do that tomorrow, or you know what, because we all have things in our businesses which we hate or we're still automating. I just say to myself, what would Richard Branson do? You know, what would Donald Trump do? Or what would Robert Kiyosaki do? You know, who would they be in this situation? I would say to myself, they'll go and find the best person to do this job. Why aren't I doing that then? You know what I mean? So the beingness is the most important thing. Who you are as a person is the thing that's the most important. Then you'll do the things you need to do in order to have the things that you want to have. And I sort of always remember that whenever I get lazy or start to go, I don't want to do that, or, you know, something like that.
That's great. I'm really glad you brought that up too, because that's my mantra for life. You know, get the being right first, and then the doing comes naturally. So I'm glad you shared that.
Awesome.
I'm excited to have people learn where they can find out more about your webinar process, or you know how you can help them get more of their flow through webinar systems.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a webinar put together already, funnily enough, the webinar guy. So I've got a webinar which talks about, how to structure the webinar in a little bit more detail. Also, how to automate it. So I actually, on a webinar I recorded a while ago, I did a live demonstration. So I actually fill in my template with someone on the call. So you actually see someone else who was a random person on the webinar doing the webinar as well halfway through it. And then another great strategy, if you want leverage, is the medical center model or the publisher model, which I basically now own 5 companies where I make 5 to 50 grand a month, and I'm not doing webinars in those businesses. I facilitate them, but experts run them, and that's really good leverage. So having other people talk on webinars while you're making a percentage of the sales is a really, really cool strategy that I do now. I call it the Medical Center. I talk about that on the webinar as well, and that's all available at steveessa.com, STEVEESSA, and register for that webinar, and you'll get all of that.
Great, yeah, and we'll have the URL up here as well. And I got to tell you guys, webinars are a goldmine when they're done right. But they're a lot of work and a lot of disappointment when they're done wrong. So I highly recommend you check out Stephen's materials, get a great resource and a system to follow, and you could be like Stephen's clients and 24 hours later have a great webinar that's performing like crazy.
Yeah.
So thanks, Stephen. And hey, as always, as you're listening in today, I would like to hear what's an aha or an insight. Tell me what you're going to put into action. Great ideas or just ideas till you take action. And I'd love to hear what you're going to do with it. So you can share it on the blog here on the comments, or if you're listening in on iTunes or Stitcher Radio, you can head on over to melaniebensonstrick.com. Find us on the blog there and just look for the episode with Steve and Essa and share with us, what did you take away from today? So we'll have another great guest next week, and we'll look forward to having you join us again. Bye, everybody, and thanks again, Stephen.
Thank you.